Good morning, everyone. It's also a pleasure for me to provide to you this morning some more information about WRCs, and we will, of course, look more closely to WRC 27. This presentation will sum up the main objectives, benefits, and the purposes of WRCs, as well as we'll be looking at the preparatory process and the cycle, and of course the important aspect of the regional preparation for WRCs. Yeah, a bit of history to start with. I think you have received already a lot of good information from my colleague, and I just listed on this slide our successful history through many WRCs or WARCs, as they used to be called before 93. And also what is not listed here is many regional radio communication conferences or world radio communication conferences specific to particular services. So all of them are very much explain and detail in the history portal. So I really invite you to look at that if you want to know more about this successful history. Turning to the objectives and benefit, of course, I think now you understood that WRC's main role is to update the radio regulations, and in so doing, to allocate spectrum for emerging radio services and applications. But an important aspect in doing that is also to protect the existing users. The objective of this process is to create regulatory certainty for spectrum users, regulators, and the industry, and also to achieve a spectrum harmonization, which is very important for economies of scales and equipment interoperability. This process aims at providing a stable and predictable regulatory environment, which is very important for having future investment in this domain. And to do that, we are bringing together all the stakeholders in a process that aims at building consensus. You could see through the statistics here about WRC 23 how big it is and how much this inclusiveness of all the stakeholders is achieved. And I would like simply to indicate that the 4 weeks duration of a WRC is not a luxury, nor it is the long preparatory process, or what some would see as long preparatory process, the 4 years of duration of WRC. So you have probably also understood that the radio regulation is an international treaty which is binding on all member states as per the ITU constitution provisions. So in addition to the spectrum allocation, the international table of frequency allocation, the radio regulation contains a number of coordination notification procedures which are used to register the frequency assignments in the international master register, frequency master register, in order to obtain recognition for those assignments versus the other ones used in particular in other countries. In addition to these procedures, the radio regs contain a number of administrative and operational procedures which are also updated during WRCs. The WRC also adopts WRC resolutions and WRC recommendations. Please be careful that these are not the same as ITUR recommendations that my colleague Sergio has mentioned before, which are developed by the study groups. The WRC resolution and WRC recommendation contain also elements which could be mandatory if they are referred to in the volume 1 and 2 of the radio regulation. But they can also contain transitional measures for the implementation of the decision taken by a WRC. And finally, the WRC resolution includes the agenda for the next WRC and the preliminary agenda for the subsequent WRCs. And all the agenda items to be studied are further described in WRC resolutions. So for this purpose, we need 3-4 years of studies. As you can imagine, some topics are very difficult, and we will look at them. And I just put here for reference some additional elements from the Constitution and the Convention, as well as the aspects that we work in 6 languages, which require also some specific timing for the preparation of the WRCs. So, yeah, looking at the process, what WRC has to consider is the proposals from the member states, and only proposal from the member states. So it means that only ITU member state can submit proposal to WRCs. They do that either individually or by a group of member states, or more commonly nowadays through the very good preparation at the regional level. And you have here listed the main 6 regional groups, and we will come to that in a moment. So in doing that, we already have a well-prepared and coordinated common proposal, which would facilitate the work of the WRC. And if we would have not have this good preparation, I think the 4 weeks would not be sufficient, or at least we would not achieve the same results. The other elements that you see on this slide are the reports provided by the RA, the CPM, or the director to the WRC, and as well as what the WRC produces in terms of final acts, which are signed at the end of the WRC. And those final acts contain modification of the radio regulations, which later on are compiled with the other provisions that have not been modified to generate the new edition of the radio regulation. If we look at what WRC 23 has achieved, you see here a lot of topics that were considered, and a good achievement. And I would not spend too much time on this slide. We can spend the morning if you want, but I don't have this time, because also it will be addressed mainly by my colleagues in the terrestrial service departments or in the space service department. So they will come back to the result of those decisions in terms of what has been modified in the radio regulation. Now turning to WRC 27, because as I said, the WRC also adopted a resolution containing the agenda for the next WRC. So WRC 23 adopted the resolution containing resolution 813, containing the agenda items on the WRC 27 agenda. So you see here also a number of topics which are grouped by, I would say, common elements. So first of all, you have an increase in the number of topics dealing with satellite services. So you see them on the top part of this slide. There are 2 blocks, one related to fixed satellite service, broadcasting satellite service, and I will simply pick up one here, which is related to the non-GSO fixed satellite service and mobile satellite service earth station authorization, agenda item 1.5, which will certainly trigger a lot of discussion and very interesting discussions. On the top right, you see the topics related to the mobile satellite service. Here we have a number of also interesting topics, simply taking one of the good one probably at the moment. It is 113, dealing with the MSS for IMT. So this is typically to provide satellite connectivity to our mobile phones or mobile devices. Related to terrestrial services, on the bottom left, you have the also additional identification of bands for IMT, International Mobile Telecommunication Systems, that will also help developing further the 6G technology. On the right side, you have the science services, science topics, science issues. And here what you could see as one of the interesting one is the development of allocation for several bands for the lunar communications. So with the objective also to develop telecommunication on the moon. So looking at the cycle, I think you have already seen in a different format this information. What I would like to stress here is the fact that I mentioned that member states send proposal to WRC, but it is important to note that the other members of the ITU, the industries, the operators, academia, can also contribute directly to the work of the study groups to the CPM process or to the radio assembly. And those contributions are equally important to ensure, again, that all the stakeholders are involved in the process. Again, in addition to the middle column here, which has bbeen presented already, I would like to stress the importance of the national and regional preparation at all those levels. Remember that we talk about the Article 5, Article 5 table of frequency allocation, but this is also declined later on after the WRC in national table of frequency allocation, and it is important that the national needs are well taken into account in the preparation for WRCs. So what is in the national table of frequency allocation need to be revisited in order to make sure that all the requirements are well taken into account. And in parallel to that, we have the Council activities, the ITU Council activity, which has to finalize the WRC agenda, mainly to add to it the date and venue of the next RA and WRC. So the work of the responsible group, my colleagues has already described that in the study group activities. What I would like to stress here is that in addition to, I would say, regular, purely technical studies containing the compatibility and sharing studies on particular agenda items, we are contribution driven. So the contribution from the membership is equally important to develop regulatory and technical solution to draft CPM text, which will then be a kind of a reference for member state to prepare the proposal to the conference. Then to illustrate a bit how this is structured in the CPM report, we typically, in addition to the necessary background information and the summary of those technical studies, again, sharing and compatibility study, the CPM report will contain sections on the methods to satisfy the agenda items, which are typically the proposed solution to answer the question on the agenda of the WRC, but also to provide some example of regulatory modification of the radio regulation to implement those proposed methods or solutions. If you are more interested in where we stand currently with these preparatory studies for WRC 27, I invite you to consult this webpage where you would see that for each agenda items, you have the text of the agenda items, we have the associated resolutions, and from the responsible group in charge of the studies, you could find the latest information in terms of the chairman's report from the last meeting, as well as the annexes regarding, for instance, the draft CPM texts that are being developed, or also the status of the sharing and compatibility studies. And again, because we are contribution driven, if you are very much interested in a particular item, your contribution is more than welcome. Here you have the summary of the CPM report preparation with some deadlines. So the first one is 23 October 2026. This is the date by which the draft CPM text should be finalized by the responsible group and sent to the rapporteur of the CPM. They will be compiled in different chapters of the CPM report, and there will be a management team meeting of the CPM to consolidate and finalize this before it is sent as a draft report to the second session of the CPM, where it should be approved before it is sent to the WRC. Final part of this presentation, and sorry if I'm a bit late, it is related to the regional preparation for the WRC. And this is done in accordance with the framework you can find in Resolution 72, which is addressing the important aspects, whether they are both formal or informal, so stressing the importance as well of informal discussion between the different stakeholders and those regional groups. So who are they? They are represented on this picture. So the main 6 ones are there. So you could see where they fit with respect to the region defined in the radio regulation, region 1, 2, 3. And just because before this morning it was mentioned region A, B, C, D, E, these are administrative regions. In the radio regs, we have region 1, 2, 3, which are defined in Article 5. And you see the lines according to this region on this slide. So today we have already a well-established structure within those main 6 regional groups with preparatory groups and the chair of those preparatory groups that are summarized on this webpage. The next meeting of this group are also summarized. We try to share and provide this information so there is no overlap between the meetings now with our ITUR activities. And also for some of this group, they already provided some draft preliminary position that they have for WRC 27 agenda items. The ITU Interregional Workshop is also part of this Resolution 72 activities. My colleague mentioned that we will have the first one next year, at the end of next year. The first one will really look at the status of the preparatory studies by the responsible groups, and we hope to have already some information about the preliminary views or priorities by the regional groups. The second one that will be held a few months before the second session of the CPM, where we should have already available the draft CPM report, at least in English. So we will be able to present these different expected methods or solutions to the agenda items already at the end of 2026. And the last one on 2027 usually is the one that focus more on the items that require more discussion, that are not as consensual as others, and for which we need to spend more time discussing and exchanging views, positions to have a very good understanding before the WRC itself. So with that, I thank you very much for your attention, and I look forward if you have any questions later on. Thank you.